Hello and welcome to Faith Matters, a series of programmes where we look at real life issues through the prism of faith and belief. My name is Keith Hitchman and I lead the River in the City initiative for the Anglican Diocese of Liverpool, and I'm based here in Liverpool city centre. For this programme I have two guests with me, Bill Addy, Anglican priest and Chief Executive of the Liverpool Business Improvement District, and Chris Gibaud, local business person and leader of the Northwest Christian Business Forum. Good evening, gentlemen. Firstly, can I begin by asking you both to say a little about your organisations and your role within them? Chris.
Well, the Northwest Christian Business Forum was founded about 5 years ago. It's a gathering, really, of people who work in the marketplace right across the Northwest region, who have faith and who believe that God is interested in what goes on in the marketplace. And actually, the Bible has a lot to say about how to do business in the marketplace. We meet on a regular basis. Our next meeting is tomorrow night, just before Christmas. And in various ways, people are really trying to see how their faith works in today's marketplace.
Bill.
Yes, Keith. Yeah.
Say a little bit, something
I'm
about.
Chief Executive of the Liverpool Business Improvement District, the Liverpool Bid Company. So some of the viewers may have seen the signs around the place. The Bid Company. What we do is we represent 1,300 businesses in the centre of Liverpool. So the heart of the commercial district and the retail district, City Central and the commercial district are the brands. Liverpool Bid Company is the overarching company, and our job is to provide enhancement, animation, additionality in the city centre. So we get involved in some exciting things like zip wires, Christmas time, we're going to talk a bit about that later, but also things like cleaning and safety and security.
Okay, the Christmas season is already upon us, isn't it? It must be a busy time of year for both of you. Bill, how is the Liverpool Bid Group preparing for Christmas this year?
Well, Christmas for us at the moment has been in the process since the beginning of the year, because the businesses that we represent in the retail centre particularly, a large element of their trade comes during the Christmas period. Major retailers, the bulk of their trade comes in the Christmas period, so it's important that we get Christmas ready, and there's competition from across the Northwest and indeed nationally for people to come to Liverpool. So the Bid Company has been leading the way. And if anybody has been in Church Street recently, they will have seen the work that we've put on the Marks & Spencer's building, which is the animation, the light projections. Hopefully they will have been following Jack Frost around the city. Jack Frost and his Snowflake Trail, which is the only free family entertainment this Christmas, specially commissioned pieces of art in various places around the city. And then also the Thursdays are live after 5. So we've already had the launch of the Christmas tree switch on, but last week we had our nativity processions, and we've more to come each Thursday evening as we move towards Christmas.
And all well attended so far?
All been very well attended and all very safely attended in the city centre, so it's been tremendous. So that's what we've been doing, gearing up for Christmas.
And how was Black Friday in Liverpool?
Well, for us, Black Friday is a sort of a marketing construct, I say. But for us in the city of Liverpool, Liverpool has very important weekends. One of those is always that final weekend in November, because it's the time when people finally start to get in towards the holiday mode. It's when salaries are paid and people have that money that they're going to spend over Christmas, and they start coming out into the Christmas shopping. So for us, Friday was good, it was safe, and it was footfall levels are on the increase in the city centre.
Good, good. This year's church's Christmas promotional campaign has the strapline, Christmas starts with Christ. Does it really, or is that just wishful thinking? What do you think about that, Chris?
Well, we wish it did start with Christ. We all wish that. But
you mean Christians wish that? Yeah.
Well, yes, anybody who goes to church, and Christians, obviously. But I think the reality is it's rather more like the American Thanksgiving now. I mean, Christmas has become an intensely family time, which is good. People do go to church, which is also good. It may be the only time they do go in the year. So they're going to get some kind of message, which is an excellent thing, and it sows seeds. But the reality is, I think, that Christmas has become an intensely commercial time. And as Bill mentioned, with Black Friday and the kind of lengthening of the retail time, it concerns me from a business perspective that retail now in the United Kingdom is so dependent on a successful Christmas. If we didn't have a successful Christmas for any reason, or somehow suddenly Christmas just didn't happen, then an awful lot of our retail business would be in very serious trouble. And that's the sort of underlying bit that is of concern. Of course it's good when people meet together. Of course it's good when they come together in family. And it's great when they go to church, even if it's only once a year. But does Christmas now really begin with Christ? I'm afraid I have my doubts about that. And really, of course, Christmas was never Christ's birthday. The shepherds would have frozen in the fields if they'd really been out there in December. It was almost certainly in the autumn. And Christmas is based on a rather unpleasant Roman festival called Saturnalia. And these days, and I'm very happy that in Liverpool, Black Friday seems to be really quite a reasonable occasion. In certain other cities, there seems to have been, rather a lot of unseemly behaviour, appalling, as the police have called it in various places. But it all does rather sort of remind us of where Christmas originally came from. The church grabbed a pagan festival off the Romans, Saturnalia, and sort of ran with that quite literally. And sometimes you think, oh, it's all catching up with us.
Yeah, the former Archbishop of Canterbury, George Carey, has gone on record saying that Black Friday is the end of Christmas. But, I don't know how true that is.
Well, I hope it's not true, because there's a lot of good things about Christmas, but there is also intense pressure, intense marketing pressure now by a retail sector that has to do well. It can't afford to fail. So that pressure is there, and I think we all feel it.
Bill, you're a priest as well, but what do you think about this thing about the slogan, Christmas starts with Christ? Do you think that's true? Is that true in your context and environment?
Well, if you look at it grammatically, it's correct, isn't it? Because if you took Christ out of Christmas, it'd just be Mass, wouldn't it? So I must admit, as a priest, I think I cringe sometimes when I see the shortening version of Xmas. So it does begin with Christ, but actually it is very important, isn't it, to remember that when it came on, who created it, it's an opportunity for us to bring Christ without an excuse into the city centre, but into people's lives as well. And from my point of view, as a priest, then I have opportunities in the church that I run in South Liverpool. Yeah, people come to me for weddings and baptisms and funerals, and we get good congregations. But it's the one time when you can actually talk about it a lot during the working week, and I think it's an important thing. But I think we get liberated as well, because as a church now we're moving into this period called post-Christendom. We're not a Christian country anymore. We have Christian laws, but we're not a Christian country as such anymore. And so if we take the establishment out of it and actually bring back to the fact that at the nature of the whole of this is, regardless of all the traditions that have been arisen from it, at the heart of all of this is a living God coming to meet with us at a point in time when Christ was born. And that's what's significant for me as a priest, and so that's why I embrace Christmas from all of that, and I love all the traditions.
Bill, you sound very hopeful. Are you as hopeful?
Yes, because I'm just thinking about what Bill said there. I think that despite the fact that Christmas is such an intensely pressurised time, and one of the things we know is that for many families, it can actually cause enormous pressures. Nevertheless, the counterpoint of the Christmas story of Jesus' birth and the circumstances of his birth are a reminder, a very important reminder of a quite different approach to life. And I think that is important, as Bill says. So I'm not saying, oh, Christmas is nothing to do with Christ anymore, far from it. But I think that for too many of us, the pressures of Christmas, and particularly the market pressures, tend to almost eradicate any sense of moving towards a sacred remembrance, a spiritual time. which is a pity. But then on the other hand, you know, Bill puts something on the street and it stops people. They hear a carol being sung. They see a camel or a donkey going through, and it does still remind people. And that's really important. We mustn't underestimate that.
That's great. Join us for part 2. Welcome back to Faith Matters. With me today is Chris Gibaud and Bill Addy. So we don't believe that commercialism has killed Christmas. We're not with former Archbishop George Carey in saying that Black Friday has killed off Christmas for good.
No, I don't think it has, but it can be a close run thing. You know, a couple of days before Christmas, the turmoil, the pressure on the streets, you do wonder sometimes.
The last minute rush.
The last minute rush, absolutely. But no, Christmas is still a Christian festival, and in this country, we're still well aware of that, which is great. But I think it would be good if we could all pause and just take some time to remember that, and not just be the constant pressure to be back in the shops. You know, Christmas Eve, maybe one day off. Look at the way we shop. We go to Tesco's and Asda and Sainsbury's, and now Aldi and Lidl, must mention them, as though the country's going to shut down for a month. Actually, it's going to shut down for all of what, 24 hours?
24 hours, most businesses and most shops,
And then there's shopping online, isn't there?
Yeah.
And how does that
Well, you
affect...
can still shop online on Christmas Day if you want to. That's when some of the sales start.
Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting concept because, I mean, a lot of people said that shopping online would close the high streets and kill the high streets, but now we have click and collect. So most major retailers have an online presence and they use the click and collect. So that's actually a way that people can order online at times when it's convenient, but then go into the store to click and collect them.
Well, a confession for you, I've done that this week.
Yeah, there you go.
And, so have you sent Christmas cards or have you sent
I will be sending Christmas cards. It's a family tradition, actually, that my wife normally writes them all and then she tells me she's written them all, and I occasionally get to look at one and write something in it. I think sending Christmas cards is a great opportunity for just saying, actually, you know, I mightn't have seen you for a year, but you're still a friend of mine, and I still think about you, even though we haven't been able to speak. I know nowadays it's completely different with all the different forms of social media that we use. We have instant communications. I've got family across the world in Tasmania and various places, and I can speak in an instant, I can text in an instant. But it's still nice to get that Christmas card. So has commercialism killed Christmas? Well, no, I don't think so. I mean, you look back at Christmas Carol and all the tales of Oliver Twist and Christmas time then, people were saying it was too commercial. I think we need to remember that there's a balance, and as Chris has just said, it's not about rushing into the shops and focusing on and having to do things and this constant treadmill. We need to be able to people to step back and take a breathing space and just to contemplate at this time of dark nights, very short days, this winter period when we can actually bring some light into the world. That's why we're trying to do it with the Christmas trees and the illuminations. I think it's great to people to see their houses lit up with Christmas lights. And we must remember, don't we, as Christians, Christmas is about the light coming into the world. And so I believe that that's an opportunity that we have as Christians to actually to embrace Christmas. And so I do in all the ways, and especially in our church, we have great Christmas traditions. We're actually talking about our crib service and having snow machines and donkeys perhaps in church.
And I think, I mean, the fact that churches, most churches that you will go into will have the same cycle of services going on.
Yeah.
And it connects.
Yeah, that's right.
I think it connects for people. We go to the cathedral. I have done ever since my son, one of my sons was a chorister there many years ago. So you get into that. I mean, there's no better place to go than the cathedral to have this incredible sort of series of services that actually do explain the spiritual dimension. And I think as long as churches are open and welcoming, their doors are open, people can come in, and a lot of people do come in, don't they, Bill?
They do.
One and only time in the year.
That's right.
Then they are connecting with the spiritual. They are connecting with God. They are encountering God, which is really important. But at the same time, of course, if you can do some of that stuff on the street, in the streets of Liverpool, that's also good, because that's the only place. So we've got all these opportunities, and we just have to sort of keep foot firmly in the door
We
to
do,
stop
that's
the
right.
commercialism side.
And there's plenty of room in the cathedral,
Yeah,
just,
plenty of
just,
room.
for, just for our viewers.
There is.
It's a
there
big
is for that,
cathedral.
yeah.
Well, both the cathedrals.
And our new bishop, Bishop Paul, of course, going back to the Christmas cards, he's encouraging everyone to send cards,
Yeah, that's right.
and
And to handwrite them.
and not e-cards.
Yeah.
And he personally has sent 600 cards.
Apparently,
this
so he's
year.
going to be
Yeah.
handwriting 600 cards. So.
And I think
Amazing.
that is important because there's something about putting pen to paper, ink
There is,
on
yes,
paper,
yeah.
which it's almost like, rediscovering books or something. You suddenly realize, actually, this is kind of real.
That's right.
One of the things I learnt about this year was that people are beginning to rediscover real photography, back to actual,
that's right.
because there's something about back to the substantial in our hand. And I think that's a bit, we're talking about that, aren't we?
That's exactly right, and that's why it's important to have these traditions at Christmas to do that. So but also Christmas is a great opportunity for us to showcase our city. So commercialism is important because it's important that we have shops that people shop in. It's important that we have hotels people stay in, restaurants that people eat in, because also that's providing employment. It's bringing revenue into our city that allows the city to breathe and to live. And that's why it's also important that we make the most of Christmas.
Well, that brings me to my next question, really, which is that you're both business people in different kinds of ways and involved with the business community. How do you, in your personal lives as well as your professional lives, how do you strike that balance between the demands of being business people and also being representatives of the church? How do you do that, even in your prayer life, your devotional life?
Well, I think the first thing to do is not to see there as being a difference. I'm a Christian, whether I'm in business or whether I'm in church or whether I'm in my family, whatever it is that I'm doing. It's 24/7.
So you're saying that there's no sacred secular divide?
No sacred secular divide. I would say God is as interested in business as any other aspect of life. And what's more, when I read my Bible, I'm constantly seeing that most of the key characters in the Bible were business people. They're in the marketplace. We're all in the marketplace. We're earning our living one way or another in the marketplace. Jesus did that. He was a businessman to the age of 30. He ran what was probably quite a substantial sized family business before he went on his ministry time. He knew all about business, about the demands of the marketplace, about providing good service, good value, being well respected, all those things. He totally understood business conditions, business life. And the Bible, of course, from beginning to end, is very concerned to see that people who are following God are prosperous, because God wants his people to be prosperous, to create resources and meet the needs of others. So the Bible is as good a business handbook as any you will find.
Yeah, that's very true, isn't it? And of course, to follow on from that, the Bible also talks about a God that loves justice, mercy, and wants us to walk humbly with him. So, and I believe that's what businesses should be. They should be just businesses. They should deal with people in a merciful way. And so for me, it's no different. I've only been a priest for 2.5 years now. I came to priesthood later in life, but I'm sort of, I thought about this for long before I was ordained, and that point of ordination when you become a priest. So I'm not just a priest on a Sunday morning when I put a collar on and when I dress like a vicar. I'm actually a priest 24/7. So I'm a priest when I'm at home with the family. I'm a priest when I'm at work. I'm a priest when I watch my football team.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I was speaking to Matt Bell, who you introduced me to the other day, and he very much said that about you, actually, that you embody that in the city, which is...
Well, it's important. If you're a Christian, what a great opportunity for you as a Christian, because as Christians we're called to go out into the world, aren't we? So therefore, to be that bridge between the secular and the sacred, to be that bridge is a tremendous privilege and tremendous responsibility. And for me, even more so now, to have been given this role as Chief Executive of the Business Improvement District, I get to bring my working life and my church life into one, really. So it's a tremendous opportunity. I feel very privileged to have it. Yeah.
That's great. So just a final question, maybe a light-hearted question, is what do you want for Christmas this year?
Well, I normally always say to my family, buy me books, because I like to read books. And I think that's probably still the same answer, because to be honest, we don't lack for much, do we, these days? No. And something of the magic, always for children, it's the magic of what will I get for Christmas, what will be under the tree, everything else. And obviously, as you get older, some of that stuff rather starts to go. So, as always, books. But I think, above all else, as many of my family as possible back at home.
That's great. And quickly, Bill?
For me, just 3 points on Boxing Day will do me.
Well, Chris, Bill, thank you very much for joining me today for Faith Matters. And thank you to our audience. Thanks for watching. And join us soon for the next episode of Faith Matters on Bay TV.